The freelance lifestyle isn't always as it seems. While there are definite perks, I have discovered that there are also significant challenges. This video will cover my honest thoughts on the common myths that I used to believe about freelancing and why I continue to do the work that I do despite some of the potential drawbacks I have discovered along the way. If you're watching this video, then chances are you are considering a career as a freelancer. One of the hardest things is setting an hourly rate that also covers benefits like those provided in a regular job. Later, we'll cover a myth about all this, but if you can't watch until the end, a free hourly calculator tool in the description below can help. It breaks down necessary expenses like paid time off, health insurance, retirement contributions, and taxes, giving you a better understanding of your actual take-home pay. All right, let's get back to the myths. First, let's focus on the work itself, starting with myth number 1, freelancing is just a side hustle or temporary gig. I heard this one a lot in the beginning. It was a common refrain from my colleagues and friends who all had full-time positions with salaries and benefits. It's hard to believe you could make the equivalent of that as a full-time freelancer working by yourself. This powerful myth forced me to stay at a job I didn't like for many years before I was forced by my very own boss at the time to either quit working on the contract jobs that I took outside normal work hours or share a portion of those earnings with his company. He claimed that what I was doing conflicted with his business, even though he did not offer me any benefits or a raise if I brought this additional work to his business. I chose neither option presented and instead quit the next day to pursue freelancing full time. I had no idea how I'd make it work, but it was better than the alternative, working for a greedy boss who mistreated his employees. I would be lying if I told you that this was an easy decision at the time, and I would also be lying to you if I told you it was an easy career path. This leads me to the next myth that I often hear. Myth number 2, freelancing is easy money. While there's potential to earn well, my freelancing journey has required continuous effort in marketing my services, managing clients, developing skills, and consistent delivery of high-quality work. Not only are you working on paid gigs, you are also working a lot to develop and maintain your business. This often means working the occasional odd hour or two to stay on top of things. Another very real issue is that income can be unpredictable at times, and it takes impeccable planning and organization to account for periods that are slow. The slow months still catch me off guard, and while I have been able to weather these periods better than I did before, it takes an immense amount of faith to forge ahead with the confidence that you ultimately find your next paid job before the money runs out. The stress that this often creates leads me into the next myth, which is certainly not true. Myth number 3, freelancing is less stressful than a full-time job. I once had a client who didn't pay me a dime until 14 months after I completed a project for them. What's worse, the invoice covered 3 full months of work, nearly a quarter of my annual salary. It was a miserable experience, and it caused me a lot of heartache and anxiety while I tried to cover the missing revenue by picking up even more jobs than I was comfortable with, working a ton that year. I'm thankful to say that I survived the debacle and that the client eventually paid me without involving any lawyers. And I did not even need to take out a loan to get me through this situation. But it definitely made me regret my career choices as I worked through it. It also pains me to admit that it happened relatively recently, which felt far too late in my career to be dealing with this as an experienced freelancer. Myth number 4, you don't have a boss. Instead of working for one boss in a traditional salaried position, as a freelancer, you are trading that for many bosses. Of course, you are your own boss in the sense that you are responsible for your own self-discipline, motivation, and management of all aspects of your business, but your clients often set the payment details, deadlines, and scope of work. Great clients often ask for your input on contract details, but it's not always expected, and it's up to you to agree or disagree to those terms. There are many valid reasons to turn down a contract, including your ability to successfully complete the project. But don't let the next myth prevent you from accepting contracts even if you are relatively new in your field. Myth number 5, you need years of experience to start freelancing. Don't let a lack of experience hold you back from starting your own freelance career. Even though I had over 5 years of experience when I started freelancing, I initially took on projects that were below my skill level. It took me about a year to build up my reputation as a professional editor and start securing contracts that were a better match with my experience. My strategy was to take on as many beginner projects as possible and exceed expectations to impress clients, building up my reputation and portfolio. That was the fastest way for me to jumpstart my freelance career. But honestly, if I could do it all over again, I would have much preferred working my way up from the beginning, taking on more challenging projects as I gained more experience. If you are fresh out of college or interested in pursuing a new career path, I would urge anyone interested in freelancing to get started right away. There is no greater way to learn than on the job. I learned so much more about the business of video production during my first year as a freelancer than I did during the 5 years I spent working as a videographer in a salaried position. Now that we have discussed the work, let's focus on an area that I believe is full of misunderstanding: the flexibility and lifestyle of freelancing. The first myth in this category took me several years to come to terms with. Myth number 6, freelancing means complete flexibility and you can work whenever you want. It's true that you have control over your own schedule, but if you want to keep working successfully as a freelancer, you will need to meet client deadlines, which can and will lead to long and irregular hours. It's not uncommon for me to work 60 plus hours per week during busier months. Many sources will suggest you manage your time effectively to help resolve this issue, but I often find the solutions that they offer are vague and often hard to implement. This is especially true during situations when every one of your clients needs something at once. This can and will happen to you if you build up a successful freelance career, and it will be left up to you to decide how to manage the workload. Over the years, I have developed tools and strategies to deal with this particular pain point that I plan to share in future videos. But I think it's unfair to expect that you can completely avoid a surplus of work with careful planning, especially if you rely solely on freelance work. No matter how careful you are, you'll inevitably face this issue multiple times, and it will impact your ability to maintain a flexible schedule. This leads me to the next myth. Myth number 7, freelancers work less than people with traditional jobs. Freelancers often work more hours. This is due to the unpaid time spent on business development, marketing, and administrative tasks, which are essential for career advancement and securing future work. This work is all unpaid and often unaccounted for in a freelancer's hourly salary. To remain competitive with salaried employees, freelancers often keep their hourly rates low despite working more hours on average. Alternatively, they can and probably should raise their rates to account for the unpaid time they put into their business. The next myth is one that I deal with regularly, and while I have found it to be untrue, it often feels very real. Myth number 8, freelancing can be lonely and isolating. Working independently can be lonely and isolating, especially for those who are used to working in a traditional office setting. Without the daily interaction with colleagues, freelancers can feel cut off from the world. The lack of a built-in support system can also lead to feelings of isolation as freelancers navigate the challenges of their work alone. For the first several years of my personal freelance career, I had no one that I could reach out to for support. I quickly became overworked and overwhelmed by low-paying and demanding work. I lasted a few years like this, but ultimately became burnt out and had to take a break by accepting a salaried position. I felt like a failure at the time, and my biggest regret was not finding a support network and mentor who could help me avoid many of the mistakes that I made early in my career. As fate would have it, I enrolled in a master's degree program several years later that renewed my passion for video editing and ultimately introduced me to many classmates who carved out their own successful careers as freelancers. That experience motivated me to pick up where I left off, and to this day I meet weekly with many of the editors I connected with in that class to discuss the problems we face regularly in our work. Now that I have identified how important this is in my life, I am seeking other ways to connect with more freelancers, including online communities, classes, and networking events. Even through this platform, I hope to connect with like-minded professionals who are looking for solutions to advance their career. If you would like to connect, please don't hesitate to drop a comment or reach out. Another reason why many people are hesitant to pursue freelance careers concerns a misunderstanding of a lack of security and benefits in the field. This is simply untrue, and freelancing can even offer more security than traditional employment. But that didn't stop me from believing the next several myths, preventing me from pursuing a freelance career sooner. Myth number 9, there's no job security in freelancing. The common belief that freelancing lacks job security is simply untrue. Having multiple clients diversifies your income and offers greater financial stability than relying on a single employer. This has proven true for me, especially in industries where job losses are high. As a freelancer, losing one client has less impact on your overall income compared to losing your sole source of income in a traditional job. Not only have I found job security as a freelancer, I have also realized the very real potential to earn more in my field than I would have as a salaried employee. My previous full-time jobs offered limited room for advancement and capped my earning potential. Freelancing allows me to set my own rates and take on additional projects, directly impacting my income. It has also enabled me to pursue diverse opportunities and expand my skill set, further enhancing my earning potential. Myth number 10, freelancers don't have access to benefits like health insurance or paid time off. This requires careful financial planning, but these benefits were much easier to obtain as a freelancer than I thought they would be, especially using the hourly rate calculator that I mentioned earlier. This calculator is available for free at the link provided in the description below, and it provides a realistic accounting of where every dollar is spent from your hourly rate. If you want to know your take-home pay with, say, 2 weeks of paid time off, medical insurance premiums, retirement contributions, and taxes taken out, this simple calculator can help you find that answer. It's important to have a realistic understanding of what freelancing looks like before making the leap. But don't let any of these common myths stop you from getting started. Within the first few years of my career, I faced these 10 common myths frequently, and so will you. While the work offers many benefits like autonomy and flexibility, it also comes with its own set of challenges and responsibilities. With some planning, organization, and a lot of determination, a successful freelance career is achievable despite these challenges. What are some other common myths that you have heard? Did I miss anything? Drop a comment below to let me know. And if this video was helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and visit filmformat.com for more reviews and tutorials. Thanks for watching.